So I got this lathe to do metal spinning. I want to be able to do some general spinning, some wood and things like that, but my main goal with this thing was metal spinning. It's kind of a lost art. It's been a lost art for decades. Some of my old books that I've read about it, even in the 1930s, suggested that it was kind of a dying art to stamping and other industrial processes. But for smaller runs and little things that you want to do, it's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun, and this did not take me very long at all to figure out, to work out. So I needed to modify the lathe a little bit. Just a basic wood lathe, variable speed, had a tool rest like this. For metal spinning, you need something a little different. So I made this tool rest out of 3/4 inch by 1.5 inch cold rolled steel. It probably didn't need to be as thick. Probably could have been, maybe could have just been like 1 by 1 or something like that. But anyway, this is what I did. 3/8 holes every 3/4 of an inch. I have a piece of 5/8 cold roll here. If I was a machinist, I would have machined this down to 3/8 of an inch, so it would fit in these holes here. But I had a hell of a time trying to turn this on my wood lathe, and trying to reduce the diameter and make it so it wasn't sloppy. So what I did kind of as a temporary measure, I'm going to probably get a hold of a machinist to do this proper. I drilled a hole in the bottom of that 5/8 round stock, and I tapped a hole for a 3/8 bolt, and then I just cut the head off the bolt. Got a little slop to it, but it works for now. My lathe came with a chuck. I got, it's a Nova chuck, so I got some different jaws for it. Got a little kit with some different style of jaws. They have some teeth on the inside there to hold on to this pipe. That is that is 1/2 inch water line, 1/2 inch hard drawn pipe. So to do this, you need to anneal the copper. That is, you need to heat it up and soften it. So I just use my torch. Once I get the copper in there, I start the lathe up and I heat it up till it's good and annealed. Let it cool a little bit, which doesn't take too long with the running while it's running. And for a lubricant, I just use paste wax. This isn't the appropriate thing, but this is what I happen to have from doing woodwork and with my wood lathe years ago. It's messy, but it definitely helps. The tool I made, which is this is kind of a round nose tool with a planishing back on it. That's tool steel that I just shaped on a bench grinder and then used a flapper disc on my angle grinder to kind of shape it a little bit. I did polish it. It did have a nice mirror finish, but using it a bit, it's kind of got a haze to it. And as I work with the copper kind of comes off a little bit and it gets messy, so I end up just using a Scotch-Brite pad to kind of clean the muck off a little bit. I'm going to make a better handle. This was just kind of a temporary handle. It's drilled about 6 inches in there. That I did that on the lathe. It's not really finished, and some of my plans, it needs to be a little heavier too. It's kind of thin. But I got some ash over there, some wood that I'm going to turn and make a beefier, a little bit longer handle. Yeah, the process of it doesn't take too much. I mean, once you really start to work it and you start to shape things a bit, it does get noticeably harder because it work hardens, so you need to re-anneal it a couple of times depending on what kind of work you're doing. This isn't really anything. This is just kind of messing around. But whenever I was done, I did polish it. Had some of this red waxy polishing stuff from Harbor Freight that I used a while back on some other projects. Works great on the lathe. Works just awesome. Polished it up real nice. So I'm really happy with this and what I'm going to be able to do as it applies to the fridge. Here's some other stuff that I kind of made. This is all 1/2 inch pipe. So this was a piece that was opened up, but it's split. You can see it got too thin and it's split. Same thing with this one, it's split. So you really got to be careful when you're thinning stuff out. This was a piece that I had opened up a lot, and then I tried to close it back in on the end, and you can see it kind of went to shit. So just kind of cut it off and then, closing it another bit. This was actually the first piece that I tried. I did this yesterday before I even made the wooden handle, and this was just a 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch reducer, and I just closed the whole thing in. I was really impressed by how much you can elongate that copper. Here's a piece that was left over, and one of these big bulbous things, these kind of tulip looking things actually, came off, and I kind of shaped it a little bit and So you can see how thin it got there. This one, I worked it from the end in so that I didn't thin it as much, and then actually cleaned up the end with a file. I am going to make a cutter. Got some high-speed steel. I'm going to make another tool similar to this, and drill the end and put my tool steel in there for cutting with a set screw. But I haven't gotten there yet, so just kind of use a file and whatever else I can to trim things up. Here was another early piece there, just messing around. So what I want to be able to make eventually is stuff like this, simple stuff. This was done on a CNC machine, I'm sure. High production, but I want to be able to make stuff like that by hand. And the main thing is ejectors. I want to be able to make an ejector where I'm reducing some copper, some tubing, probably 3/8, making that, and then making a phase separator that it's all housed in, and making all the parts and making them all fit together real nice and brazing it together. Go into the refrigerator here, so do some work with that. And then eventually I want to do some bigger stuff, which is, your conventional metal spinning. This was just like a bowl that I tried to make the other day, and see, I didn't finish it, where you would mount this on the lathe as a mandrel and then take a metal disc and then spread it and spin it over that form. So I will get to that eventually. But right now, just this little copper work is a lot of fun. Gonna keep up with this stuff. So I wish I could do a video on good methods and how to do this, but I'm not very confident in my abilities yet, so I'm not going to put anything like that out there. Just kind of wanted to show what you can do in a short period of time. And I made this thing yesterday, and kind of finished my tool up a little bit today to make it a little more useful. And just messing around here for a couple of hours. It's a lot of fun. I would definitely recommend, if this looks interesting to you, to pursue it, because it's not too difficult. Do use some common sense and wear eye protection and all that good stuff. So don't be dumb about it. But yeah, have fun. So thanks for watching.